Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. I am Josh, and tonight we are joined by a very special guest. We have in the building Brandon DePino. What's up, Brandon?
Brandon, clap track.
Clap track,
Yeah,
clap
there we
track.
go. Glad to be here, guys. So excited. You know, been watching the podcast. Been trying to be top commenter. I'm happy to have been invited.
Definitely.
I feel like I've achieved something.
Definitely top commenter and contributor, I would say. Like, you add value.
Oh, thank
Most
you.
of the time, you add value. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Unlike some people, Derek.
Yeah, what was that? What happened in the comment section? Because I was confused by the timestamps.
Yeah, Derek being a troll out there. He's putting the wrong timestamps after Ken asked him to add timestamps.
Oh, I figured that's what it was. That was hilarious, dude.
He knows what he's doing.
What's up, Daniel? Daniel's joining me on the couch.
Oh, it's cozy. I always love being on the
That's
couch with
nice
you, Josh.
of you. Yeah, I'm gonna keep you from blowing away.
I'm going to
today.
keep bringing guests here, dude, just so I can sit on this couch with you. I'll save that for the men episode.
Oh my goodness, what's up, Ken?
Not much. Not much. Speaking about bringing guests here, did you really bring this guest here?
Definitely.
Okay.
My idea.
Okay.
My idea.
Oh, boy.
Well, because we're just going to put it right on the table right now. I would like to take all the viewers and listeners back to this past Tuesday, about 6 days ago. And me and Brandon, along with Josh and Johnny, are in the Basketball Connect group. And so I show up to Basketball Connect last Tuesday, and just nonchalantly just talking to Brandon. I'm like, oh, hey, did Daniel ever reach out to you about being a guest on the show, on the pod? He's like, no. And so as we're talking, I'm going to pass it over to Brandon, though, to finish up the story. But yeah, it was really interesting. A lot of insight we gained into Daniel and his absent-mindedness and just general sphinctery.
What a word.
Save that for the men's episode, dude.
Oh, boy.
Sphincter?
How premeditated was that?
Not at all.
Definitely.
It's off the dome.
That was a good one.
Oh, man.
Well, you know, hanging out with Daniel, we decided to have a movie day.
Yeah, hold on. What day was this?
This was the Sunday right before.
So 2
Okay.
days before.
2 days before.
Okay.
So we're deciding we're going to watch a movie, all hang out.
Mhm.
So, you know, Daniel comes over. We took him to D'Angelo's.
I had my first D'Angelo's experience.
He's
What do you
never had
mean?
D'Angelo's.
I've never had D'Angelo's.
You've lived here your whole life and never had a D'Angelo's?
Never had D'Angelo's. And it
Okay.
was really good. Per Brandon's lovely suggestion,
Korean
I got the
barbecue.
Korean barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
That is
And
the
it
best.
was really good.
There you go.
I think, before we go on to this story, I think D'Angelo's might be the most underrated sub shop. But
I would say that. Now having it, I would say that.
yeah,
That is what sparked the idea, was that D'Angelo's
Okay.
might just be one of the better sub places.
I think so.
Sponsor of the pod.
There we go.
Let's
Love
hope
it.
so.
Let's do it.
Shout out
Korean
D'Angelo's.
barbecue.
That'd be dangerous.
So we go to D'Angelo's, and while we're there, we're talking about the podcast because, you know, we love the podcast. And for some reason, while talking about the podcast, Daniel decides that he's not going to say anything about me being on the podcast. Instead, he just complains about how Ken randomly sends him text messages at an improper time.
I'm going to sip my
for a
coffee.
thumbnail.
Yeah, so a lot of us exposed Tuesday at Basketball Connect because, you know, I'd asked Daniel,
Oh, my God. Spit my coffee.
Daniel,
Was
the
that
the
8
only
p.m.?
one out of us who I think had your phone number, because I would have reached out myself, but I didn't have your phone number. It's like, Daniel, you have Brandon's number, right? It's probably a week before that. I'm like, hey, you're going to reach out to Brandon just so, you know, because we want him as a guest next time. Oh, yeah, no problem. So that's why I asked you Tuesday, you know, if he had reached out. Not only did I learn that you didn't reach out, but then you also mocked me and threw me under the bus, talked about the podcast for hours, but did not make the connection to ask the guy you were talking to if he could be a guest on next week's recording.
We didn't talk about the podcast for hours. And it was like maybe a small 5 minutes while we were waiting for Toby's sandwich.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then, of course, when he got the text message, he went, there it is.
I said, Ken's going to text me around like 8 p.m. asking for a thumbnail, but I'm having D'Angelo's. And at 8 p.m. you texted me. I said, here it is.
I mean, I know you guys didn't like that word, but I think that qualifies for sphinctery.
Oh, there's definitely
Listeners, watchers, viewers, please chime in.
there's definitely
Comment sphincter if you agree with Ken.
sphinctery. If you agree with him.
Timestamp that.
See, the crazy thing is, like, we all
Zero,
had,
zero, zero.
we all had a discussion like the Thursday before in the group chat. Like, are we gonna have Brandon on? And like it was like, yeah, we're gonna have him on. And then to know that Daniel was with you, didn't say anything.
Said nothing.
Like when you walked in on Tuesday, I'm like, all right, you ready to go?
I keep business and leisure separate in my life. So when I go to Brandon's house and he has me as a guest in his home, I'm not going to talk business in his home. I'm there to be, leisure and be friendly and family. It's not time for business.
That's
time
true.
and place.
That's a fair point.
I'm a guest in his home. I'm going to talk about work.
He's a guest in my home when I'm not even around.
That is true. My first time ever going to Brandon's house, his daughter was a couple days old.
Yeah, about a week.
About a week old. I'm there. They're watching a Pirates of the Caribbean marathon, and I show up to watch Pirates of the Caribbean. And he's like, oh, yeah, my wife's in the hospital with the baby right now. I'm like, what are we doing in your house? Like, what are you? He's like, oh, I'm going to go pick them up. So he leaves. We're alone in their house while he goes to pick her up from the hospital. I'm like, wow, what a host.
That's my dude right there.
What a host.
My house is your house, right?
Can't interrupt the Pirates of the Caribbean movie marathon.
Stop it.
No.
Not to mention, in this economy, I spent a lot of money on those groceries because I cooked them all food.
And let me tell you, my boy knows how to cook.
All right.
What a chef.
All right.
What
did you make? It was like these like.
Was it the ramen? Was that ramen?
It was the ramen
and steak.
Steak tips, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
that was good.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to be sliding into his friend spot just the way this is all going. So,
Hey, listen.
Go play basketball with old man Jenkins over here. Let's break another bone.
Poor guy.
it's a mild injury.
His team still won. That's what matters.
Yeah, I was cooking. You can ask him. I was cooking.
He was. He hit a big shot to keep him in the game before, and then that's when he got hurt.
I had to carry him up the staircase at work the next day.
Is that true?
No, false story. More sphinctery from Daniel.
All right, let's go to the booth. What's up, Jake?
Not too much, man. Just a little upset. Don't have my 8 p.m. on hand. Daniel, that was karma for spitting that coffee out, but he spilled my half Arnold Palmer, half Monster. We call that an 8 p.m. Good to be here, guys.
My coffee tastes amazing, if it's any consolation.
It's
Cheers.
Oh, are you saying A p.m.?
8 p.m.
Oh, I thought you were saying 8 p.m. Like the
Yeah,
time.
8 p.m. Yeah.
He's calling it an 8 p.m.
We called it an 8 p.m. A as an apple. And then we changed it to 8 p.m.
Right.
Because it sounds more, flowy.
It sounds fun. It makes
Yeah,
It
makes the
literally
drink-
sounds like not even remotely different. Like
It's different.
It's like, hey, how much you weigh?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the same thing.
How much you weigh?
That's-
8?
How much you weigh?
Spence said,
How much you weigh?
Spence said, right. Like he knew comprehended anything that Jake just said. Right.
He didn't change it to the number 8 either. He kept it ATE.
8 p.m.
And Arnold Palmer's already half and half something, so it's
Lemonade iced tea.
It's a third
Listen.
iced tea, a third lemonade, and
I had a leftover Monster from yesterday, which is a no-no. You can't drink that alone because the carbonation is very off and it tastes like gluten. Well, sorry. It tastes very glutinous.
Gluttonous?
Very I don't know how to explain it. Very dense.
I
Very
think that's
dense.
sphinctery. If that's if anything in this conversation is sphinctery, I think that in itself.
It's very dense, and you can't have it alone. You have to mix it with something, and I needed the caffeine content.
You gotta cut it.
You gotta water it down. You gotta water it down with that Arnold Palmer. Is it an Arnold Palmer light or just a regular?
Regular Arnold Palmer.
Attaboy.
You convinced me I live in a simulation.
You might.
Happy to have you back, Jake.
Thank you, guys.
Spencer, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? Man, I'm happy to see my man Brandon on the couch. Man, so you guys may not know, Brandon used to be my youth leader.
Wow.
In those days, when I was
days.
a young lad running around.
Now you're an unk.
Yeah, now they call me young. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, you have a connection with all of our guests. Like
Oh,
like a past connection, yeah.
I've been around for a minute. you know?
Okay.
Did you know this fun fact about the word unk? I didn't. I thought it was uncle. It stands for uncool. Did you know that? Did
No,
anybody
I
know
thought
that?
it stood for. I thought it meant uncle too.
I was
I
on
know.
the
I
uncle
thought it was
train.
uncle.
I was
Now
told
I'm
it
even
stands.
more offended.
I know, right? Like
I throw hands with the next
Madison
person.
informed me. I guess she learned it at
Yeah.
school the other day with the third graders.
Wow.
Which makes me feel even more
I'm ready to skip the unk phase then.
If Madison learned it with the third graders, must be true.
It's got to be the hot goss. That's after the third grade.
It's right up there with 6'7".
Oh my goodness. Speaking of 6'7", what's up, Johnny?
Not much. 6'7".
6'7".
Oh, what's up, man?
Just chilling.
Yeah.
Getting ready for golf coming up.
Oh, right around the corner.
The season's approaching.
I can't wait, dude.
And bringing out the naughty buoy again.
Has it had its inaugural journey yet?
Not yet.
It's only been a year and a half.
I gotta drain the water. It's been uncovered all season.
Oh my god, dude. Thing's been through some stuff this
It's been
winter.
through the blizzard.
She needs some attention. For sure.
But I'm ready to hoist my sails.
Save it for the men's episode, John.
Shrink your sails.
Oh my goodness. All right, we gotta go through some comments, but before we do that, I want to remind the people. Ken, you don't have to remind me this week.
Wow,
I'm on it.
You on it?
I had an 8 p.m. I want to remind the listeners to please, if you like what you see and what you're hearing, please go on, like, review, subscribe, share us with a friend, leave a comment. As our friend Brandon has left so many great comments. That's why you make it on the couch.
That's it.
You give some insight, you give some feedback.
There's a cost to being on this.
There's a cost.
There's a cost to being up here.
There's a cost. And as we're talking about costs, I want to remind everybody we also have a Buy Me a Coffee page.
Wasn't Brandon the only one who bought us coffee?
That's why he's on the cut. That's why he's on the cut.
I just want to say I did it before I was invited.
True.
Yeah.
Hey, what's funny is before you did, Josh said he's got to buy us a coffee first, and then like 2 days later, you coincidentally did it. And as we all know, I did not text you yet.
That's right.
to invite you on this couch. So
And for all those too who like want to be guests on the pod, like please don't come at us. You're unnamed right now, but me. I want to be a podcast guest, and no, you got to step up. You got to comment.
Yeah.
You got to be present.
You got to hit the tiers.
Yeah.
So 25. Close them doors.
We have a referral process too. 25 subscribers, you get it on the pod.
How about the hype button too?
Oh yeah, thank you, Spencer. See, I love having support here on this podcast. As you watch us on YouTube has added a new feature, and that's the hype button. So if you watch us within the first week, you can hype up our episode as a smaller content creator. That'll kind of boost us up the algorithm. So hit that hype button. Help us out there, and help us out again. If you want to give to us, if you like what we're doing, you want to support the podcast, we have a Buy Me a Coffee page. You can find it at buymeacoffee.com/NSFS podcast. You can find us on social media as NSFS podcast. So share us with a friend, and then you'll end up on the couch.
That's it.
But tonight, we got a lot of topics to go into. Brandon, not only does he comment, but when he was asked to come on the podcast, he came prepared. He had like 6 topics that he wanted to talk about. Not only did he have topics, he had subtopics. He kind of laid it all out, made it easy for us, and then we kind of deliberated and picked out a topic. So the topic that we're talking about tonight is the Big C Church and why nobody gets along, why we don't get along. And you had a lot of subtopics on that and a lot of good supporting discussion notes on it. But I want to ask you, just to start off, like, why this topic? What was it that kind of led you to come up with this topic?
Well, I've been in church my whole life, which is cool. But with that, you go to a lot of different churches. So, bouncing around, checking out different churches, you get a lot of places where it's like you feel like home. But sometimes as a Christian, you go to another church and it's like you do not feel like you're at home. They find out that you're not just some, unbeliever that they're trying to get to, be in the seat. And they're like, oh, you go somewhere else? They're just not a fan of you anymore. That's just awkward.
And
Second class.
They find out what church you go to. Oh, you go to that church. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I think I bounced around a lot to churches, but I was never invested enough to realize what was going on, I don't think. But, I mean, I think, like I said, for this topic, it kind of hits on a lot of different levels. There's a lot of different aspects of, I mean, we might get into it a little bit more later, but we talk about Catholicism and when that fits in with Christianity and kind of the differences between what we do and what they do, right? And I mean that goes for a lot of churches. We were talking before the episode, like Methodist Church is kind of is a lot different than what we do at our church. So, what is it that you think is creating like these divides between believers? I mean, we all at this point we all believe in Jesus. What's dividing us? What's kind of causing these conflicts? I'll leave it open to anybody to answer.
Well, I think we could start just with a little church history. I think it'd be a good place to start because you have the early church, which is like the first, like, I guess you'd say like the first 3 centuries, right, after Jesus. So you have the early church that continued on. You see the beginning of that in the book of Acts, and then it spreads. And the persecution was terrible, like waves and waves of persecution that, wiped out so many Christians, but yet the church continued to grow and spread and multiply. And then you take that up to about like the 4th century, and that's where you enter Constantine, who became the ruler of Rome, and he then, says he had a vision of a flaming cross, and it basically was like almost like you're gonna conquer in this name, and so he Christianized Rome and made it like basically like state religion, and from that you eventually have like the Roman Catholic Church that is born from that. And that, like, when you talk about church history, it's like that's it for like 1,100 years. There's no like real church history of like any other church besides the Roman Catholic Church. It's like, so like there's probably still like remnant like churches from like, like the early church, which would be like the most authentic church. But then you have the Roman Catholic Church, and you have really nothing else until like around 1500s. And that's when Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the Catholic Church door of all the problems that he had with like doctrinal issues with Catholicism. And that's kind of your first, like, obviously Protestant. That's Protestant Reformation. So that's your first like denomination away apart from Catholicism, which is Protestantism. And then from there, it denominations from there, just start to pop up just based on some like doctrinal preferences and differences. So
you're saying like denominations kind of popped up just because of like different interpretations of scripture?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of just for example, so you have like Lutheranism, which would be like the first one with Martin Luther,
yep.
And that was a pretty strong in pretty strong opposition of a lot of the Catholic doctrine that's not biblical. And then, shortly after that, you have Calvinism, which was started by John Calvin. And his denomination, which is still around today and is, very influential, really focused strongly on the sovereignty of God and really tried to remove the free will of men. And that basically everything that happens is based totally on the sovereignty of God, and that there is no real like free will of man, that everything is just God's plan, where I think biblically more accurately it's that these things kind of collide in the middle, and we're not going to get into a full doctrinal argument over it, but you start talking about the permissive will of God, the perfect will of God, and things like that. But he was just straight up on the sovereignty of God and pushing hard, and he even like wanted to have people that disagreed with him killed, what I mean? So you it's not just like biblical differences, it's also just some of kind of man's doctrines and man's wants and desires and man's convictions. So I think denominations came about by a lot of different ways. I don't think it's all bad, but you definitely see some stark differences, and it's not just straight biblical.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know if kind of this was the idea that you had, Brandon, but you talk about like different denominations, like I know like Baptists, they're pretty big on baptism, believers' baptism. Presbyterians emphasize like theological structure and order, and Catholics they emphasize the sacrament and tradition. But what's happening, I feel like, and I think this is kind of to some of the point that you wanted to make, is instead of us all believing and following the same Christ and just having different minutiae as we do it, it's almost turned into like these tribes. Like every church is a different tribe. You know what I mean? And now I have to defend my tribe. Is that kind of where you were going with it?
Yeah. So like I grew up in a Nazarene church, And I just remember Awakening Conference was a conference that they had at like the Dunkin' Donuts Center a couple times. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And so a lot of churches went to that. And it was the first time I ever saw someone speak in tongues. Never seen that before. So I go home and I'm like talking to my parents about it. I'm like, you should have seen this person. He was like saying some crazy stuff. And I have no idea what he was saying. And I just remember like talking about it with some of the like the church leaders, and they were just like, we don't believe in that stuff. Those people are faking it. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I just took it because like they're the leaders in church,
Right.
you know. But then I started, you know, getting older. I'm hanging around other churches that aren't Nazarene, and like there are some spirit-filled people who I know they're not. Like I'm like, I know this person's walk. They're not faking it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I'm being told that like, no, this isn't true, and like that church is obviously like, you know, full of crazy people, and they're not actually following the Lord. They're just creating distractions. So it's like things like that were part of like my questioning as I was becoming sort of like, you know, a young adult Christian who was like just wanting to know more about the Lord, and then going to certain people, and I'm just like, I don't know how we could say that like a church full of people that I know personally are really seeking the Lord, that they're, you know, just creating confusion and they're not true Christians all because, you know, they're doing something I've never experienced before, you know. So like those types of things have always like kind of bugged me a little bit.
Yeah. Have you guys come across that, like, as like leaders in our church? Like, have you guys come across people like, hey, how come nobody speaks in tongues here?
Yeah, I mean, also we get the whole gamut. I mean, I just got a phone call today. I was at the church.
That's right.
We kind of play sometimes phone call roulette at the church.
Who wants to take this one?
Who wants to take this one? Because you never know what you're gonna get on the church phone. And so it was my round, and so I picked up today, and it was an old gentleman, and he was asking, you know, our church beliefs and our leadership structure. Are we elder-led or pastor? Can women be pastors? And are you complementarian or egalitarian? Where do women complement, or are they equal to men in the church? And so he's asking me and grilling me on all these different things. And so it's funny that we're having this conversation. I get that call today.
Literally today.
Literally,
Wow.
it happens all the time. We get doctrinal questions all the time, and you know, our church is specifically non-denominational, like Protestant, and you know that even within the non-denominational Protestant, or even in different Nazarenes, or like you can go from a non-denominational church to a non-denominational church down the street, and it can be entirely different. And to Brandon's point, you definitely can feel that sort of tension at times where it's like, oh, you're from there or you're from here. It almost feels like either a competition or a down looking upon each other, when like we should be building each other up, leaning on each other's strengths. And, you know, applaud to Brandon too for reaching across the aisle, and, you know, in his early years, and saying like, I've gone to this church, and like I know real people from there, and I know these people, I know their walk, like I know their heart, and I know they're seeking after the Lord. So how can we just like write off these people for having, you know, these completely different practices that we don't even care to discuss? I mean, you didn't even know tongues was really a thing.
No
I mean, per what you were just saying, really, like you didn't really know what that was. So, you know, not only are we just writing people off, but we're not even having the discussion about why we're writing people off or casting people aside. It's just like, this is what we do, this is what we believe, and that's it, you know.
Definitely found like after COVID, like COVID was a big reshuffling. So you had people that went to church for like 20, 30 years who just like stopped for a little while, kind of let the dust settle from COVID, and then like maybe were burnt out from serving, or maybe just thought it was time to find a new church. A lot of them ended up with us. And so we really have a huge variety of backgrounds at our church. And those things will come up. And most of the time people are pretty mature about it, and just like, hey, I have a question, you know, like, I noticed this, or I noticed you don't do this, or you do this. And it goes down to how we do communion.
Mm-hmm.
It goes down to baptism. It goes down to certain just doctrinal things. So I love our church for that. I love that there's this like wide variety. And the last one I got was an older guy, and he came in and he just said, yeah, like it's going to take me a little bit getting used to like seeing people with hats on. You know, and that's not really doctrinal. It's just more like traditional, you know,
Right.
But it's like the church that he was brought up in, it was like, no way. You get crucified, man, if you wore a hat or had a cup of coffee or whatever, you know? And so I just said, hey, you know, I respect that. And, you make yourself at home. And, if this is the place for you, great. But, I don't try not to make a big thing out of it just because I think denominationally, I think we make so many big things out of things that aren't that big. And that's part of the problem with the division.
Yeah.
We focus on non-essential, what we'd call non-essential areas of like doctrine. And we take some of the more like peripheral stuff and make it essential when it's really not. And that's where I think a lot of the division comes in and a lot of the infighting.
Yeah. I think, too, with a subject like this, I think a lot of it goes back to like, how do I put this? Like, I'm growing up. Now that you're older, like, I'm sure you look back very fondly on your childhood, and like those were the good old days. Like, life was a lot better back then, and that's how things should be. And I think that the church might fall into that same trap where this has been my tradition my entire life since I was a childhood. My parents brought me to this church. This is how they worship. This is how they praised. This is how the preacher should look and preach. This is how we were taught, and that means this is the right way, because I spent these past however many years being taught and brought up and led this way. So how could this be wrong? And not necessarily that it's wrong, but you go to a new church and then they do it differently, but your ego doesn't let you say, oh, this is also right. You know what I mean? They're also worshiping God and teaching the word and being brought up in the gospel the same way I was, but it just looks a little different. The pastor's a little different. Like, the way that they do their small groups is a little different. The way that the formation of their Sunday service, the way that it looks is a little bit different. Because I kind of fell into that a little bit when I came over, coming over from Christian Fellowship Center. Like, I've said this before, like, the pastor there he's a big energy guy. When I came over here, you're not a big energy guy.
Are you saying I'm not big energy?
You're not a big energy guy, but
He's a little energy.
But
I need an APM stat.
Come right up.
But so I almost didn't know if this was the church for me, because I'm like, this didn't feel like what I was accustomed to and what I was used to. And thank goodness God kept me where I was, because
I'm trying to think it was big energy from where you came from, but we don't have to go there right now.
we'll take that one off air.
All right.
We'll take that one off air.
Just racking my brain right now.
But it's no, it was just like, thank goodness God kept me there, because kept me where I'm at, because I figured out that this is what I needed. Like, I needed somebody that was in the Word, teaching the Word, that I could walk away understanding and comprehending the message, and then having more questions to continue that conversation on the ride home with my wife, continue the conversation later in the day as I'm studying what's being taught. But I think ego does fall into that, where people think that, oh, this way is the way, and anybody else that's outside of this is not doing it appropriately.
For sure.
Any thoughts?
I think for me, just like, I now actually go to a very Pentecostal church, which is cool. Shout out to his Providence Church. Absolutely playing on my.
He plays the bass and everything. So good.
But that's actually what made me fall in love with the church, was actually the worship, and it had nothing to do with the worship team either, because I went there on a Tuesday night for their prayer night, and they have prayer and worship, and it was probably one of the worst worship sets I've ever been to. There was no bass player. The drummer couldn't keep beat. But, like, the people in the congregation were, like, unfazed by that and just worshiping. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I don't care about all that, because, Pentecostals have that bad rep where they're just, like, too free.
Yeah.
We got, like, people, like, dancing with flags and stuff.
Barefoot, flag twirling.
I can't deal with the barefoot people, man. Barefoot people still creep me out.
You draw the line in the sand at the bare feet.
I don't trust nobody walks around bare feet.
I don't know if it's a church for you, man.
Next time I lead at Smith Mills, I'm wearing no shoes, bare feet, dude.
I can't handle it.
This actually brings up a another topic that you had. This wind is wild right now. This wind is crazy.
I don't know if the viewers can hear
Yeah.
or the listeners can hear that, but yeah, we're in a cyclone
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
in the middle of a cyclone. That's all right. We'll be here. But you kind of brought up in one of your topics the different styles of worship, and you kind of brought up the compare and contrasting for like the classic like hymnal worship versus contemporary Christian music. So where do you guys stand on that?
Well, this is a debate I had with Steve last week.
Oh my gosh.
Is it really?
I
my
introduced a new song on last Sunday. And,
He was- he was
two
tell-
Sundays ago.
He was tallying up how many times a certain word was said in that song, and
And
it,
Steve
it,
comes
it
up to me,
increased
he's
the
like-
threshold.
He's like, every other word in that song was blood. Blood this, blood that, blood, 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 blood. He's like, how many times are we going to say the word blood in that song? And no, but it definitely is a very fueled debate, right? Because I mean, this could be a whole podcast or series of podcasts. And there are whole people's lives dedicated to this subject of what worship should be. Ultimately, a lot of theology is crafted from worship, and theology being like the understanding of God, right? So, like, what we know about God or what we learn about God is not just from the sermon or from the person who's preaching, but it is also from the songs that we're singing, right? Because a lot of the times I may not be able to recite what Ken said on a Sunday, but I'm going to have that song stuck in my head. And if there's grounded theology in that song, then, it carries me forward. I think that there is a fine line between, having some creative liberty and then some that's like just a little far-fetched and a little over the top, and so there, there's a song, for example, and not to criticize this song if this is your song, God bless, but probably not appropriate for, I think, the Sunday morning environment. But if it's your prayer closet song, then God bless.
Just
but
spit it out, man.
it's a I think it's
lead.
an old Carrie Job song, but it basically is like, I want to sit at your feet and drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe and feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. Those are the lyrics. And
That's a Faith Plus One
The
original.
more I seek you,
the
I think
more I
is
seek
what
you
it's
from
called.
Carrie Job.
Yeah.
And like, okay, maybe one to kind of keep in your privacy worship, but maybe not in the corporate worship. It's not super edifying, it's not necessarily super theologically grounded, and not to say that every song that I ever choose is theologically like just a 100 out of 100. We play a lot of CCM, and it's definitely not biblical. I always try to pick songs that I feel like are edifying, but the whole song isn't teaching super theology the whole time, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, a lot of it is preferential. I mean, a lot of people come in and say this is crazy. A lot of people say it's too loud. A lot of people will say it's not, it's not this, it's not that. This is amazing. This is great. This is everything I love. You're gonna hear the whole gamut, and you have to just choose what, I guess, where your convictions are, and as long as it's glorifying God and edifying His people, I think you have to just practice wisdom in the songs that you're choosing and the way that they're being played.
Yeah, I think what's good is that I think, and your church is non-denominational, independent, right?
Yeah, non-denominational. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a double-edged sword. Being from in a denomination gives you certain, there's like certain forms that can be passed down that are good, that you don't have to kind of reinvent yourself, and there's like denominational support, like financially and other things like that. But also being independent allows you to not be locked to certain doctrine of a denomination that might not be, that might be a little bit more man's preference than it is like biblical truth. And I think with worship, I think the beauty of it is being able to kind of draw from, it doesn't have to be hymnals or CCM. You know what I mean? We don't have to live in those boxes, because there's the hymnals are so rich in like the theology and like the truth of who God is and His character. They might be a little, kind of like slow and simple. But then, that's why you have some of these mashups, and these kind of contemporary versions of some of those older. So, like, I think the fact that we can draw from from a few different wells,
Mhm.
and then you can even apply that, to a lot of different aspects of church, because like Baptists, they're real word heavy, but maybe not so much spirit led, and so Pentecostals opposite, right? They have the reputation of being not so word heavy and very heavy spirit, and so the fact that we can kind of draw from both and find our balance and find what's good for the leadership that we have, the church that we have, I think is a beautiful thing. And I don't think we have to put denominations like in boxes and say, no, that's good, that's not, because probably most of them have some good and bad aspects,
Right.
as we all do, and so I think that's kind of the attitude that we should have always. Of course, you can't compromise on essential Christian doctrine, justification and Jesus,
Right.
being divine, and some of these things that some cults and people on the fringe, that they blur those lines. But as long as everything's essential and that's tight, I think the peripheral stuff, I think we can kind of draw from and make a nice symphony together.
Brandon, where do you sit on this?
I love hymns. I'm going to say that right now.
I'm with you.
I grew up on the hymnal, man.
I'm with you.
Hymnal on
I
the
used
back
to
of the
love
pew.
looking it up. They used to have the numbers
page
right
number?
on the board. I'd have
board
you go.
every
I'd go
Sunday.
start looking it up and go, oh, it's gonna be a fire one.
What
today.
a banger set. We're doing
We got
1001,
power.
768, and 27. Can't wait.
And then
In
you
the
got responsive
blood.
reading. Did you ever do responsive reading?
No, I have no
one
idea
person
what that
reads
is.
the
Oh, my
bold, and then we
goodness.
all echo the next
Oh,
part.
Oh, yeah,
my
yeah, for
goodness.
sure.
Those
My
are the
first time in
days.
a Catholic church, I'm like, wow, I feel culty right now. I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was in a completely different environment. Like,
There's a lot
did
of
not
standing
know.
up and sitting down.
I didn't know, and that's not no dogging, I guess, but it was more so like I felt so out. I was born and raised at CFC. So literally all I knew for most of church was CFC, and then going out and seeing other churches, but mostly non-denominational. So like then getting into, I've sat in a Presbyterian service. I sat at I think it's St. Andrew's. Oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. He passed away recently. Great theologian. Oh Lord, what the heck was his name? Never mind. But so I've been to a Presbyterian church like in Florida. That was it's like the pinnacle of Presbyterian worship. And it was definitely different, but it was a beautiful service, and the word was amazing. Like, it was such a great word. I've been to some Pentecostal churches that were, whoo boy, kooky. Could not explain it. I can't even think of a word like sphinctery for the type of description.
Gonna look up Urban
I
Dictionary.
better
later.
trademark that thing quick.
Yeah,
There
you
is-
gotta do
There is no adjective like sphinctery that could even
poppin'.
describe
How much you weight? Sphinctery.
the things. What? What?
No, I'm just checking them
Yeah,
off. There's
yep.
two different terms that we got to put on Urban
okay,
Dictionary.
Got it.
I'm just
okay.
making a notepad.
All right.
Keep going.
It's your
Nate,
audible
8 p.m.
notepad. But yeah, no, it's definitely a gamut, and it is like, I guess you could say Christians are on a spectrum, if you will.
I'm on the spectrum, dude.
I think we all know that I am, but
Yeah, that's
Christians
for
are
sure.
definitely on a spectrum.
thanks, Josh.
I always say Christians are the weirdest people,
Yeah.
and I just because
Well,
the more you're in it, the more you're like, wow, like this really is all over the map.
and I
Like,
think that's why it's tough for when we're talking about like Sunday morning worship, like everybody worships differently. So you're playing to the crowd, right? But the crowd is completely different people from
Yeah.
completely different situations. So some people might love the hymns. Like I love when you guys go back to like the early 2000s and
Yep.
90s worship songs. So I'm
Shout
like,
to
oh yeah,
the Lord.
that's it, dude.
I
I
hate
love
that song.
Wow.
See, making the point right here.
Yeah, but it's because it's just like, but then it brings me back to like when I was young and first coming up in the church, and like
Yeah.
the songs that I would hear on the radio and all those things, and it takes you to that area. There's people that
sure.
want to a more quieter worship. There's people that want a kind of a loud and energetic worship.
Mhm.
Like, so as like knowing that you have that vast array of people in the audience on a Sunday morning, like that's gonna kind of have to play into like what your playlist sounds like, right, from week to week. It's not like you guys are playing the same 5 songs every week. You guys make a difference, and I'm sure you get people that are coming up to you requesting.
Oh, he gets a
things.
lot of song requests,
Yeah.
boy.
You say I'm not a DJ.
I
DJ
file
requests don't take requests.
I file it right away. I say, "Yep, I will listen to it," and I definitely listen to it. I don't know if I listen to all of the songs in terms of like their length, but I'll listen to 5 seconds and make a judgment call. Typically, that judgment call is no. But yeah, no.
Because you gotta.
There's so
figure out
many.
the pulse.
There's so many suggestions, and then it's like, but you just got to think about, like you said, corporate worship, right? So I'm like, can I picture, a 60-year-old, excavation worker, singing this on a Sunday morning that is there, alongside of a 40-year-old, mother who, stay at home, alongside a 21-year-old young adult, alongside of a 13-year-old who's sitting in the service, alongside of an 84 retired, constable, or a police officer. Like, so you have a lot of those. You have a huge gamut,
You know what
all
works
over
for all
the-
those groups? A Jordan rap cover.
Yes. We got to get Jordan up there, I'm telling you.
Shout out, Jordan.
I'm trying to get a Ken Jordan duo, dude. Maybe a Colton feature
Should
as
do it.
well.
Oh my
We'll do like
gosh.
a
I like it.
Let's just do a rap.
new
battle,
rap
dude.
group.
Just do a rap battle, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I will be there that Sunday.
We're going to do that Good Friday service. Good Friday rap battles.
I think probably part of the problem, and going back to Josh's point, is that I just think, the comment was made, Christians are like the weirdest people, and I think what makes Christians the weirdest people is that they always think what they like and what they think is right, no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's like the way I was brought up in church, or the way this, or the way that. And I hear that comment more than anything. Well, my old pastor, and I just want to be like, that's great, but your old pastor could have been, I don't know where your old I don't know that context. I don't know anything. It's
Your
like,
old
but my old pastor,
funneled money to the cartel. Like, what do you want?
And I think that's part of the problem with the doctrines is that the denominations. My bad. Is that like John Calvin, for example, all right, going way back to when that was hundreds of years ago, is that he thought he was so right that he was ready to have his adversaries killed. You know what I mean? So maybe that's not as extreme today, but I think people still have this mentality is like, my way is the right way. This is the right way. And that's where you get the sectarianism and the really cliquish type of behavior and the isolation and the separation. And that's what kills the body of Christ more than anything. Yeah. If we're going to bring it to worship, your job is always to bring unity in worship, right? I know that 100% for you is that how do you get all those different age groups and different demographics together? It's through worship that you're trying to find that unified sound, and for people to, no matter if it's their preference or not, just to be willing to worship God together.
And but speaking of that point, right, the unity of the body and the different denominations and such. That's why I really valued Brandon, because we had a service a little while ago, and he's like, his brother reached out to me. He's like, hey, if you need a bass player, my brother will play. And I was like, yeah, I definitely need a bass player. So I texted Brandon, and he's like, dude, don't ever hesitate. This is all kingdom. We're the big C church. It's not about the little C church. And so I loved that about what he said, and just his heart. We are one body. Just because we go to 2 different churches, or there's different differences in styles, or differences in preference or beliefs. It's like we can still be the big C church and serve alongside one another. And even when we serve at Smith Mills and stuff, I mean, that's a hodgepodge of people coming from all over the map, and we get to just get together and worship together and have services, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think pre-COVID, you probably saw churches gather a lot more in unity. Post-COVID, it felt like, especially for a long time, it felt like everybody was on their own. Churches were isolated. And there was a lot of rebuilding that needed to be done. A lot of the churches needed to focus inward because there was a lot of restructuring and rebuilding and what does church look like, and we started all these different things, live streams, and I think a lot of churches were kind of forced to look inward, but there was definitely a lack of big C church movement after COVID, and you're seeing like little strides of that start to come back. But
do you find like churches in the area like refusing to collaborate like due to like style differences? Do you guys find?
I don't know if it's style differences more than it's just like, I think it's whoever sets the tone as leadership. You know what I mean? There's definitely some like really possessive type of attitudes, about like, like for example, you coming over to play bass right at our service. There's some churches where the pastor or whoever is like in leadership, whatever, over your department would, might be like, no, sorry, like that, no, that you're our bass player. You know what I mean? And so, that, I think that's more than style. I think it's just more that kind of like, and then you get that, the insecurity by a lot of leaders, that are like, oh, I don't want them fishing in our pond, and and that kind of stuff, and like they're afraid like, oh, Brandon's going to go over to CFC, he's going to like it better, and I might lose him. He's a bass player, he's this, he's a good tither, he's all, and so. Yeah. Unfortunately, you get a lot of that, and I think that is, part of the big problem of why there's not as much kingdom. I don't know that it's always doctrinal, that it is just more like kind of like possessive type of attitudes.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy to hear because, like, Daniel, you brought up the word unity like a few times tonight, like, and unity, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean like sameness, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like we're all doing the same thing, but unity's more, we all have the shared purpose. Mm-hmm. We all have the shared gospel, right? So like that's kind of where the unity is at. It's not necessarily that, well, I like the way that he does bass and that's the only way that I want to hear my worship or whatever it is. Like it's really about the heart of what you're doing, whether it's worshiping, whether it's being in the word, whether it's how you're treating your community, right? And maybe that's getting lost. You guys feel like that's happening along the way?
Yeah. Again, I think humans have the nature of like, my preference is law, and so the things that I prefer or the things that I believe, that determines kind of how I see everything. And so if you disagree, especially in the world we live in now, where if you disagree with somebody, you are Satan incarnate in the flesh. Yeah. I mean, so you're talking politically, theologically. I've
seen that.
It's a cross.
I've seen that.
No way.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
Just listen. If you have a problem with Josh, text
me.
He's very approachable.
You have my number.
Sometimes.
But I think we put our preferences even above people a lot of times, and so the unity kind of just flies out the window. And to Brandon's point before, it's like he knows people who, even though he believes a little bit differently, he sees the fruit in their life. He knows that they are true believers based on his relationship, just getting to be close to them and know them, even though he had no idea what speaking in tongues was when he went to the conference, and so when he started to question these things and look into it, he approached people in relationship, and he's like, like I may not understand like what you're doing, but I love you, and we can still worship together and honor God. And look, and now he's at a Pentecostal church where it's like tongues is the primary language. Like your first language is tongues, right?
You still have never spoken tongues, so
yeah, and tongues.
You'll get there. What do they say? That means you haven't fully received the Holy Spirit, dude.
You don't have enough faith.
Not sanctified enough, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
it.
And like in that tongues, I think is kind of like one of those things that I think you can have. I mean, this is a huge, deep conversation. Cessationism, right? Are the gifts for today or not? Are you cessationist, or do you believe that the gifts are for today? And and Ken and I actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago, because I've never spoken in tongues, and growing up in church, I saw tongues practiced extremely poorly for most of my life. Like the vast majority of tongues that I've seen practiced has been practiced very poorly. And, it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth. It's kind of like what the heck is this? You know what I mean? And I would say that I don't want to be cessationist. And so I I would say that the gifts are for today, 100%. But it's like, when people are abusing it constantly, and you're never really seeing it practiced in the way that the Bible is really describing it, it makes it difficult to kind of like understand, or where do I file this or put this in sort of my brain, I guess, or of how these things work. And so I practice a cautious optimism, I guess, where I'm constantly, I do pray. I'm like, Lord, if this gift is for me, then, I'm willing to receive it. And understanding that not every gift is for every person. Not every person will speak in tongues. Not every person will prophesy. Not every person will teach. There are spiritual gifts, and they are distributed as God wills it, And so, for me, I just don't think that, I've seen it be like thing like you have to speak in tongues if you're saved. You're not saved if you don't speak in tongues. And it's like, then, you see people who practice a prayer language, or it's like, oh, you can gain some syllables, ba 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 ba, and then you say ba 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 spa ba 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 ba, and then you learn a new syllable, and ba 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 ka spa ba 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 ba, and it's like, I just don't know, like, is that truly edifying? Like, what really is that, if you will? So there's just a lot of rabbit holes that you can dive down and debate to kingdom come, but within myself, I went through a really rebellious phase in my teenage years where, I was very doctrinally conservative, very doctrinally conservative, more on like that Baptist and sort of Calvinist sort of vibe. And it really was kind of like, cutthroat. If you disagree, you're actually just stupid. You know what I mean? And so there was this very judgmental sort of tirade I went on. And then as you mature and you go through life, you realize, I don't have to necessarily agree or understand necessarily fully where you're coming from. But as long as we can agree on these core doctrines that really define, and not, like you said, the peripheral or the outer ones that can kind of be neither here nor there. But if we can agree on this core gospel and these core truths and work together in unity, then I'm all for it. Let's build kingdom. Let's build kingdom. Let's build the Big C church. But yeah, there's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down doctrinally and theologically.
And we talked about tongues on this podcast a while back, probably a little over a year ago. And I think, Ken, you said it best. I'm pretty sure you said it. I could be making this up.
Okay.
My memory's not great, but
Test me.
The speaking in tongues is almost, I don't want to say useless, but it's almost purposeless if there's nobody there to translate the tongues.
Yeah, I mean that's just Bible. That's what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 14. Where he talks about the need for interpretation because the person who speaks unintelligibly is just kind of like a symbol, a clanging symbol that I can't appreciate or understand. So definitely there should be the order that Paul talks about. And just to kind of go on your point in Daniel's, I think the problem is that we hyperfixate on that, or we hyperfixate on the fact that the gifts aren't for today. Okay, so either way, I'd much rather, I would say I would want to partner with anybody who believes in the essential doctrines for the sake of the gospel, because that's what it's all about. We're really trying to win lost souls for Jesus, and those some of those peripheral things are not going to have much bearing on that. Once a person's saved, they begin their journey, and we can kind of guide them, and we can mentor them, disciple them in the way that of who we are, right, to reproduce who we are in them, and if they kind of go a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, that's okay. But as long as we never lose the real prize here, which is the gospel, and that we would be doing everything for the gospel's sake. And I will say, too, that I think churches, unfortunately, just focus so much on just retaining the believers they have. And they're so afraid, of losing. And that's why they maybe kind of close the doors rather than open them. But I just remind everybody, that there are billions of people that are not saved. And that's who we could be filling our churches with. And that's who we should be filling our churches with. So we don't have to be like cliquish or sectarian about it. We can, if the gospel is really the goal, and we're doing everything for the gospel's sake, I don't mind what you do peripherally that's different, than how we do it. That's okay, as long as we don't make it the focus, because it's not the focus.
Yeah, and I think what happens was when you make it the focus, those things that you disagree on, like tattoos, wardrobe, like alcohol, like all these different things, secular music and all that. So a lot of stuff that we've talked about on here. But when you are making those the focus, you don't realize like you're alienating those people, those exact people that you just talked about that need the word, that need the gospel in their lives. Because as soon as you shut that door to them, now every other church, it doesn't matter if there's another church that may be a little bit more lenient on dress code or whatever it is, to them that door is completely shut forever. They're never gonna walk through those doors to that church because they've already been made to feel like they're not welcome there because they dress a certain way or because they have tattoos or piercings or whatever. So you're doing the opposite. You're having the opposite effect on your intended demographic that you're looking to bring in. For sure. Brandon, what else you got, man? You brought this topic. I think we could get a BTT today, but not that we're at the end. But Brandon, what else you got, man?
I do have a question that I actually wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Especially to you as a pastor.
Okay.
Do you ever listen to sermons from other pastors?
Oh, yeah.
Online?
For sure.
All right. You guys have anyone that, like, in particular you listen to?
He's a big Joyce Meyer fan.
To be honest with you, the person that I listen to the most, he's not like a real well-known guy. It's a guy named Steve Abraham, and he pastors New Life, Oxnard, California. And I know him, but that's not why I listen to him. I think he just is such a good preacher and teacher, and so because I'm connected, with the church on Instagram, it's easy to find their sermons. I don't know that I really listen to a lot of big name preachers. Like I was a huge Charles Stanley fan, huge Charles Stanley fan. His son, not so much, but Charles Stanley to me was one of like big name Bible teachers.
Charles Stanley was the man.
The man, I love him.
Is he not still alive?
He died. No, he died some years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I definitely listen to others. I can't say that like I can pick like a bunch of big names and say, oh yeah, I really like, if Vadi Bachman was a big name. He R.I.P. He also passed away recently. I would listen to him for sure. Yeah, there's a few, but probably not a ton of big names.
I actually hopped off the big name list.
Yeah,
I decided that I don't want to do big names, mostly just because I don't know them personally. I think I would rather listen to people who are local. So, like, I was a big T.D. Jakes fan. Speaking in tongues, that guy was with the But I loved his energy. Like when I was in like my early 20s, I listened to him all the time. But more recently, like within the last like 4 or 5 years, I decided that I want to listen to like local pastors. Sure. So like I try to find my way around and like listen to. One of the Nazarene churches, actually, Ambassador's Church in Pawtucket, Shane Lima. Shout out to you, my guy. He's probably one of my favorite, like, preachers ever. Obviously, I re-listened to, my pastor. And then when a lot of my friends actually started going to CFC, I started listening to you. So I keep up with you every now and then. So...
I got a high standard then. I got a high standard I got to keep up.
There you go. And then, there's just a couple other local churches that I listen to. But for me, it's easier when it's like you kind of know the person.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's been so many people in the world who have kind of been like, let you down after you've been listening to them for a while. So
don't meet your heroes. That's what they say.
That's how it goes. So I try to stick local now, which is cool, though.
Yeah.
Because, when they make a lot of, like, analogies and stuff, a lot of it's like, stuff that you understand because you're in the New England area.
For sure.
That's a good point.
That makes sense. The guy was R.C. Sproul from Ligonier Ministries.
Yeah.
R.C. Sproul. That's the Presbyterian church I went to down at St. Andrews, I think, in Florida. But, I still probably listen to more conservative preachers than, like, very, like... So, like, I'll listen to a lot of, like, John Piper. I like John Piper. I think he's definitely very... grounded.
A lot of people hate on him.
Biblical. A lot of people hate on him.
A lot of people hate on him.
A lot of people hate on a lot of people, but again, this is the point of the episode. But I I like to listen to a lot of those guys who are very theologically heavy. I like that, some of the history, some of the deeper things. And there's a lot of entertaining stuff that I'll watch too. Like I said, I was into Michael Todd when he first started.
I think we all were.
And until he deep ended, and went really, really rogue. What's that big one right now? Is it out of like down south? It's like a Church of Numbers or something.
Oh,
It's like,
Philip Anthony Mitchell.
I think that's him.
That's him.
I think that's him. I've seen a lot of him just in general. I don't watch him, but I've heard a lot of great things from a lot of people. So I mean, I can't vouch for him, but
Everything I've heard from him has been pretty solid, but
yeah.
same.
When I've seen the clips, I'm like, he's making a great point, So, but clips are clips, not full sermons.
Do we get into the Catholic talk before we end? Do we have the time?
I love Catholics.
Are Catholics Christians?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, their essentials are
Right.
there. It's just there's so much of the other stuff that's just crazy. You know what I mean? And just like all like the worship of saints and the praying to Mary and all that other stuff, and the indulgences and purgatory, and you could go on and on and on and on. But they do recite the Apostles' Creed a lot of times at masses, depending on what church you're at. And the Apostles' Creed is good doctrine. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do think they are. I just think they're in a really they're in a really bad institution. As far as the like the formation of it, and just the hierarchy and all that other stuff, and just that some of the doctrines are just way off.
It's like pretty regimented too. Like you can't is there straying? I don't know too much about Catholicism, but is there straying from like how they do things?
Yeah, you get some kind of like the charismatic movement like kind of invaded the Catholic Church. For a time, and so you have these like charismatic Catholic churches which are still Catholic but believe more in the moving of the Spirit, and they do worship and things like that.
Yeah.
And you do have some deviations from like straight up Roman Catholic, but Roman Catholic's like really the standard, and that's what most people have been involved with.
We're gonna have to have a Catholic on and just have a actual like discussion.
I love
about
my
this.
Catholic
Should
brothers.
invite Candace Owens.
She'll come on.
I love my
There you
Catholic
go.
brothers.
We'll see if
We'll
she's
get Tucker Carlson in here after he gets out of CIA jail.
What's his laugh kills me, dude.
That laugh is
Have you seen the
crazy.
guy who impersonates him?
No.
Oh my God, Madison sent me the videos. They're so funny. He nails it to a T.
Nice.
So good.
Hey, does anyone know what was with the fish on Fridays with Catholics? I just remember they'd always show up.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Fridays
that's-
and
Lent?
have
So that's
Yeah,
Lent.
yeah.
So like no meat on Fridays. That's
And it's
another.
not even
that's
like
another
a-
one.
It's just like they're just giving up meat, right?
Yeah, they're giving up meat.
It's just
for,
like a
for,
fast, right?
For
It's just
Lent.
fasting.
They could give up
Lent's
something
40
else, though, right?
days. Lent's 40.
No, I think it's
no meat.
Half
Meat,
the
I think was a
time.
pretty standard
okay.
one,
I
and
think meat is
then you
standard.
could add on some stuff that you're giving up to for Lent. But
Filet
the meat,
of fish
the
sales
meat,
through the roof, dude.
Oh, absolutely.
the meat was just for Fridays.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
but some people would say, okay, well, I'm also giving up like caffeine or whatever, or sugar or chocolate
Mhm.
for Lent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the Friday thing.
I hung out with a lot of Portuguese Catholics growing up, and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
always
Oh, yeah.
confused by that.
Yeah.
I'd be,
Oh, yeah.
be
Every
cheeseburger on Friday at school, and I'd be munching away, and they'd
Oh,
be
yeah. It's like, what is wrong with you?
like, "You can't do that."
I
Like,
think
no,
a
I'm
lot-
enjoying this.
A lot of schools switched to like now. I've noticed like every Friday's pizza now, like in a lot
Yeah.
of elementary schools.
Yeah, pretty
now.
much.
Because I think for maybe that reason,
It's much better for you.
pizza. Yeah, it sure is, dude.
School food is so healthy.
It's great.
How about that booth? What's up
Yeah.
with the booth?
Oh, here it comes.
Jake's chomping. He's chomping at the
So
bed.
I met Brandon at his Providence church. I don't know if you guys knew this.
Yeah.
I knew you went to his
And
Providence church, but
yeah, I met him there. I think I was in a rough shape. I had a leather jacket on. I didn't
He was a
shave for a
greaser?
year. Yeah, I don't know.
Look like-
I don't know if he met me when
You
I
didn't
was.
shave for a year?
Yeah,
was he a
I was
social?
scruffy.
He kept his shoes on, so we
I did. Yeah, we were cool. I had a leather jacket on. I was really cool at that time.
He was
long
a
hair.
jet.
So me and him were also in the same house at Marked Men for Christ for the phase 1 experience that we went through. And it's just good to have him here. I think since I've known him, he's grown in his faith for sure. He's he's my number one fan. Actually, number two.
Number 2.
Wait,
And,
he's your number one fan, or you're his number one?
He's my number one.
Oh.
Oh no, he's a big fan of mine from what I've heard from other people.
The most humble brag in the world. He's like, yeah, it's just so. It's such an honor for him to be around me.
In my
He
presence.
should really feel great about himself.
Brendan,
right now.
thank you.
The pleasure's all yours.
I can say that I am not finding peace.
We know who it
Are you?
is. We know
No,
who
but
it is.
he has a lot to bring to the table, and I think he does bring up some good points about the church. The Pentecostal church, his Providence. I found God there, and Pastor Zach over there does a really great job with his sermons, in my opinion. And it was really hard to hear Pastor Ken when I visited CFC for the first time. I had a hard
common
time.
thread.
I told
That's
Connie
a common
I was on the
thread,
ride
dude.
home, and I'm like, I can't even pay attention to this guy. I have a lapse of focus and ADHD as it is. We can't go to this church. I'm sorry, babe.
I'm not ADHD
I'm
friendly.
staying. I'm
That's
staying
true.
at HPC.
need
You
more
can go
bells
over
and
there.
whistles.
So, and then one day, I don't know what it was. I went to service and I was able to focus, and sky's the limit
Thank
now.
God.
Scales
Thank
fell
God
off
for
your
Ritalin.
eyes.
Yeah, nope, medication free to this day.
I'm
So.
just joking.
Shocking.
I know.
So shocked to hear
Yes.
that, dude.
But yeah, really good to have you,
He
Brandon.
grows
on.
on you like a bad rash. This
Yeah.
guy.
And now look, we're serving in a podcast together. Who would
Crazy,
He
right?
plays the long game.
I do. I'm very patient.
I can tell.
Spencer, any last thoughts?
We talked a lot about worship, but nobody brought up Kirk Franklin, and I'm curious about all of your salvations now. I don't know.
Kirky boy.
Kirk. I don't know if you want to hear my thoughts on Kirk Franklin.
Kirk, is this pre sitting naked on a piano bench or post?
Dude, all of it. Right? All of it. Don't worry about what that man does.
He always did.
Look, the spirit strikes you when he strikes you. You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta move.
Spoken like a Pentecostal.
We're gonna move past that, Johnny.
I think it's definitely interesting takes that I've heard. Like, I've always grown up at CFC, so I never had the experience of like a Catholic church or something other than what we have at CFC. So I think it's definitely interesting, the different denominations. I know, like, definitely on Instagram, you can, if you go in the comments, you can definitely see some ego battles going on between Catholics and other denominations and vice versa.
That's a good point.
So I think definitely what Josh said, I think it's definitely ego plays in protecting your tribe, quote unquote. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
I remember the first time I went to a church where they spoke tongues, dude. I was scared. I had to leave. I was like, I don't know
Freaky.
what's happening here. Everybody's doing it. This shaking and moving. I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
The first time I heard it, it was people who English was their second language.
Yeah,
So I actually thought it was just like native language. I'm not lying.
I believe you.
I'm not
I
lying
believe
at
you.
all.
It feels like that.
So the Nazarene Church does not believe in speaking in tongues as far as that. They believe that you speak in tongues when you have to, like, speak another language for the Lord. But my dad's side of the family comes from Cape Verde. So when my grandfather first started going to the church in New Bedford, he was praying, but in Creole. And someone went to the pastor and was like, this guy's speaking in tongues.
Oh,
We got to get him
no.
out of here.
Oh my!
That's
see,
great.
Oh no.
see the havoc that can
great.
be caused.
It's
Brett-
I've been to a couple churches that have done like Holy Spirit tunnels where you like run through, and like as you run through, like you gain the gift of tongues, and
The
then it
fire
gets
tunnel.
slain in the spirit. You get like slain in the spirit, and you get the slaying of the spirit as well, where the pastor is just like hard pushing your forehead down for you to fall and get slain in the spirit, and
Was that where they threw gold glitter at you too?
yeah, no, that was Bethel. But no, it's definitely, as I said, there's a spectrum, and we're all on it.
You see those ones on Instagram where they're like waving their hand like across, and like hundreds of people start falling.
Oh,
yeah.
Waving their hands.
It's a
I'm like,
Benny
okay.
Hinn
Benny
special.
Hinn's.
It's a Benny Hinn special right there. Brandon, were you part of the? Did you tell me about the quiet online petition to get Johnny out here on the couch? Was that you at Tuesday at basketball? Or was
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
Was that Jordan?
I want to see Johnny out here one day.
All right. Yeah, we're talking on Tuesday at basketball, Johnny, and there's a groundswell.
I heard
Yeah.
the whispers.
The rumblings. His rumblings.
Hey,
Not
we
online
can get you out
petition.
here for the men episode.
I don't know about that one.
I want to hear John's
I think
opinion.
it's a solo Daniel episode.
I want to hear.
He's gonna be out on the boat that week.
Oh my goodness. Any last thoughts, Brandon?
No, none that I can think of. I think if this was just like a really good conversation, I'm just thankful you guys had me on. It's always fun. And to those of you at CFC, thank you for allowing me to come and hang out whenever I do, on the first Wednesdays or
Absolutely,
random
man.
Sundays. Like I said, there's a lot of, I love going to other churches, especially when like a lot of my friends, go there, get to go see old friends and stuff. And it's always nice when you feel welcome. It's really awkward when you're not.
100%, man. You're a good dude.
Doors always open.
You're a good dude.
Doors are always open.
You're one of the real ones.
Yes, sir.
Do we want to do a KTT? Do we want to do a BTT?
I
Do you have
don't
a
know
t-
if I can handle a BT.
Do we want to do an 8 p.m.?
I don't know if you're ready for that today.
But any
a KTT?
KTT? Yeah, it'd be brief. It's just be about kingdom. Be about kingdom. And kingdom is not, does not, what's the right wording I'm looking for? It doesn't stop at the denomination door. You know what I mean? Kingdom is what we should always be about. Jesus only said the word twice, the word church twice in the Gospels. You know what I mean? But he taught about kingdom constantly, and so we got to be about the kingdom, and we have to be able to leave our doctrinal differences at the door as long as they're not, essentials. We can't hyperfixate on them. We can't make them bigger than what they are because it will always keep us divided rather than united. I'm definitely not saying that we shouldn't have, high standards when it comes to essential doctrine. No, that is not debatable whatsoever. I'm not even implying that whatsoever. But there are so many things that we try to make essential that aren't, and so we just be better to be honest about it, and take a good look inside and see where I might be looking to divide rather than come together for the sake of the gospel. It's all about the gospel. It's all about souls. Jesus coming soon, and so we have been tasked with this kingdom work, and we have to. Without unity, we won't see God work. So,
Amen.
Send your hate mail regarding me to Ken's office, please.
yes.
Because I do feel like I'm going to get hate mail for this episode.
Right.
Please call the church when he's on call.
I don't know, man.
Do not call the church during work hours, please.
During work hours.
The number is.
We had 2 rounds of phone calls today. It was like I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone.
We'll put Daniel's phone number in the description.
Yeah,
If you want to reach out to him.
it's gonna be Brandon's number.
Final Piece is going to call you.
This is the direct line for anyone looking for what we believe,
Yeah.
our doctrinal stances.
Oh, man. All right. Don't forget, like, review, subscribe.
Yes.
You can support us by buying us a coffee.
Hit the hype button.
Hit the
us up.
hype button. Hype
it
us
up.
up.
I'm gonna be looking for that button. I've never seen it.
Get an 8 p.m. And until next time.
Stay sphincter.
Love and peace and
Peace and love.
Yeah. He knows the
Good
drill. He
job.
knows the drill.
He's watched us before.
Yeah,
That's
he
good.
knows.
He's hard.
What a loyal follower.
What a
I got
guy.
this boy.
All right, later.
see ya.
The Not Safe for Sunday podcast is recorded in the loft. Our production team is Spencer Berriman, Jacob McCall, and John Walsh. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. If you'd like to join us for a Sunday service, you can find us at Conquerors for Christ Church, located at 972 Reed Road in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.